What's up, everybody? Welcome to Undisputed Podcast. Me and Jeff, my co-host, are going to be going over matches from 1997 to now. We are at the 1997 Canadian Stampede, and we're going to do the Undertaker versus Vader for the WWF title. I did restart this video. I'm redoing this whole review again because I have to point out and I have to give a massive shout out to my boy Mike The Miz Mazanin on successfully cashing in his Money in the Bank briefcase tonight and becoming WWE Champion. Long overdue. I hope they give you a good run with the title. Let's go. So anyway, this match starts out with Paul Bearer gets an interview with Vader, and he pretty much accuses the Undertaker of killing his brother who we find out, kayfabe brother, we find out later winds up being Kane. He has not come into the picture yet, so we have no idea at this point in time who he's talking about. You get a flashback. They end up showing a flashback to Vader beating the Undertaker at the Royal Rumble pay-per-view earlier in the year. Vader comes out first, followed by the Undertaker. He comes out afterwards. They start out with the Undertaker with some right hands to Vader, and then a clothesline, and then an elbow drop, and a 2 count here. I noticed in 97 they don't go for a lot of early pinfalls, so this is kind of weird. So the Undertaker splashes him into the corner, gets another 2 count. Then he does old school, he connects with that, gets another 2 count. So a lot of early pinfall attempts here from the Undertaker. Kind of a shift in pace here in this year. Vader ends up with a clothesline, and then Undertaker hits one of his vintage flying clotheslines. So we get a headlock by Vader on the ground. And that kind of takes a minute. You know how those headlocks go in the beginning of the match. They slow some things down after you get through the early flurries. So we got that for a while. Shoulder block takedown. Undertaker with a big boot, and then another boot after that, and it knocks Vader over to the top rope to the outside. And both men start brawling on the outside. Vader ends up throwing the Undertaker into the steel steps on the outside. This match is pretty physical between the two of these guys. Knowing the two guys, it's not all that shocking, to be fair. Taker ends up hanging Vader on the top rope, and then goes up to the top rope and hits a flying clothesline to Vader. And then the Undertaker ends up gets up and hits a uppercut that sends Vader over to the outside, and then Bear starts hitting Taker with his shoe. Weird flex, okay. Vader starts hammering Taker in the corner when they get back in the ring. Ends up being a flying turnbuckle, or a flying clothesline off the turnbuckle for Vader this time. So Vader's at jumping off the turnbuckle. He's pretty athletic for a big guy. So I don't know if you guys who are not very familiar with Vader. He does occasionally do a high-risk type move. He doesn't look like a guy who could do that, but he does do it to some effectiveness. So he gets a flying clothesline, he gets a 2 count, then he gets another suplex on the Undertaker, and then a splash, and he gets a 2 count on that. Now he gets in some type of like neck pressure point hold, and he holds that there for a while, kind of like they do when they put the headlock, or what Vader did when he put the headlock in earlier. Taker ends up fighting out of it a little bit. He gets a thumb to the eye by Vader to the Undertaker, and he hits a clothesline. Taker ends up reversing and hammers Vader in the corner. Then Taker going for a choke slam. There's a low blow. The ref does not care. As the theme in 1997. Everyone gets kicked in the nuts. The refs never care. Nothing happens. No different in this match. Vader using the heel tactic he's got. Low blow to the Undertaker to take advantage when he was in trouble. Very heel-like. Champion's in trouble, right? Yeah. So Undertaker ends up going for a tombstone anyway. They do that thing where Vader reverses it and puts him in tombstone position, and Taker reverses it, goes for tombstone again, but they kind of botch it. And so it winds up being an elbow to the abs or rib area of the Undertaker instead. After the botched tombstone attempt. He's a pretty big guy, so he's trying to do that multiple tombstone reversal thing with these guys. So shocked they tried to do that little stunt in this match. But I swear I yawn every time I do one of these podcasts, and I actually really enjoy these. So I don't understand why. I just always do them when I'm tired. Vader goes for the Vader bomb. Then there's a low blow, and then a choke slam for a 2 count for Taker. It's weird. People don't kick out of a lot of finishes in 1997. Taker choke slams him again, gets a 2 count again. So now it's like, whoa. Can the Undertaker beat Vader? Because remember, Vader beat the Undertaker at the Royal Rumble pay-per-view. So Vader's got the Undertaker's number right now. But Taker just says, nah, screw that. I don't care about who has whose numbers. I'm going to hit the tombstone and get the win, right? So Taker retains the WWF title. My thoughts on this My thoughts on this match are simple. This is just kind of a pay-per-view that will fill in gap to get to SummerSlam. I don't think a lot of people probably thought the Undertaker was going to lose his title. But the match itself was pretty decent quality. There's not a lot of slow parts. They had kind of like the neck pressure point in the headlock for a second, but it wasn't too long where I felt bored or like I needed to do something, So I would say it was very effective in the way that they did it. So the match itself was pretty, like I said, a lot of action going on, hard hitting action. Two big guys, these guys can go. So I would give it a 5 out of 10. So about average, solid match. So I would recommend it if you're bored for a day and just like, oh, let's throw on a big man match. This is probably a pretty good match to watch. I prefer this match to the Royal Rumble match earlier in the year. I was not a fan, if you remember my review for that, of their earlier one. I'm a much bigger fan of this match. It was just faster paced, and like I said, not a lot of slow areas. So we'll see what the rest of this pay-per-view's got in store as we go over the 10-man tag, Team USA versus Team Canada main event of Canadian Stampede. I'm excited for this one because I remember this match. I've seen it a couple times, and I love this match. Let's see what Jeff has to say.